Bhutan Bola. At the request of my colleague, Gerald Daly, who is out of station at the moment, I'm introducing the 38th session of the Bhutan Dialogues today. Every year, the month of June is celebrated as the Pride Month for the rainbow community worldwide. As one of the key events organized to commemorate the 50th anniversary of Bhutan's membership to the United Nations, we are hosting a very special edition of the Bhutan Dialogues today with the panelists from the rainbow community. Our first speaker today is Pema Dorji. Pema is 29 years old and identified as non-binary. Pema worked as an outreach coordinator for the Ministry of Health's National AIDS STIs Prevention Program. Pema co-founded the Queer Voices of Bhutan in 2020. The second speaker is Dechen Seldon. Dechen is 28 years old and identifies as a woman. She was the first ever transgender woman to come out in public in Bhutan. She also has worked with the Ministry of Health as an outreach worker. Dechen Seldon is currently a board member of the Pride Bhutan and is also an actress. Our final speaker is Rinzin. Rinzin is an open gay entrepreneur currently running a beauty salon called the Vanity Zone. He's a proud and open advocate for the rainbow community. Rinzin has been featured on PBS, Humans of Thimphu, UN Magazine, and Queer Voices of Bhutan for his work. And our host today is Dr. Phuntsho, who requires no introduction in Bhutan. He's a thought leader, social worker, and as the president of Lopen Foundation, he has been providing pro bono support as the favorite host of the Bhutan Dialogues. In closing, I'd like to encourage all of you online to write down your questions in the online chat box. In this very special edition, since we have a panel as opposed to a single speaker, in the interest of time, may I kindly request the audience to keep questions short and focused. My colleagues Trin and Ugyen will be compiling the questions and will read them out, and the panelists would answer the questions at the end of the session, as per our usual practice. So Tashudere, and thank you. Over to you.
So, Kuzu Zamko, and welcome to Bhutan Dialogues, Rinzin, Pema, and Dechen. It's a pleasure to have three of you for the 38th session of Bhutan Dialogues. And to briefly tell you about what we do here at Bhutan Dialogues is, this is a forum where we try to bring people to share their stories, to deliberate on the process of development, on the concept of human progress. And I think when we talk about societal progress, how good a society often is reflected by how it treats its very weak, very marginalized, very disadvantaged, the minority. So a civilized, an advanced society is one that is compassionate, if you use the Buddhist term, compassion. So it's really pertinent that UN and the Lopen Foundation, the two host organizations for Bhutan Dialogues, has invited you to represent your community, the rainbow community, the LGBTQI community. We would like to know more about who you are, what you do, but more specifically, as this month is the Pride Month, celebrated all around the world, we would like to know what you do and what other people should do during Pride Month to have a more inclusive approach to respect our gay, trans, and all other types of friends. So let me begin by asking Rinzin, what does the Pride Month mean to you? And what are you doing? What's happening around the world in this month to celebrate LGBT community?
For me, Pride Month is mainly to celebrate for those who passed away, who lost their lives fighting for our rights, for what we are right now, it's for those who like fought and fought for the rights, and usually like prides are like celebrated throughout the world by doing parades and celebrating those things. Like first when it started, when the Pride parade was started, it was more of a protest. It wasn't much of a celebration. It was more of like fighting for our rights. And now that like most of our rights we have, now that Pride Month is more of a celebration in memorial to those who passed away, who lost their lives, expressing because of expressing themselves.
So a lot of people have sacrificed for the sake of having the LGBT recognized and respected. I think the Pride Month started with the Stonewall uprising in New York and so forth.
1960.
Now, Pema, what are you doing this month to carry on this legacy or this movement of bringing the rainbow community fully into mainstream society?
First of all, I think we need to clarify, Doctor, that this is for the very second time that the Pride Month is being observed by the community. Second time because,
In Bhutan?
Yes, especially in Bhutan. And for that reason alone, I mean, of course, we are like honoring and acknowledging the sacrifice that was made by the generation before, so that we can have a very comfortable and to the present version. So, and for that, especially this is a very, especially all around the world, the situation is very different. It's a very critical situation due to the current pandemic. So, for this month, I think initially we planned quite a lot. Where we'll have gathering, we'll have we'll do so many activities to mark this month, observe this month. But as of now, I mean, we have to scale everything down. So for that reason alone, I think everything that's done is being done online. In terms of Pride Bhutan, I think they are carrying out an online advocacy activities in collaboration with Humanism Thimpo. For Core Voices Bhutan, we are trying to gather as many as community story and celebrate their stories. So apart from that, I think we are not doing much.
So, just to clarify for the audience, you are leading Queer Voices of Bhutan,
yes,
which is an organization to
yes.
help the rainbow community, and Dechen, you are leading Pride of Bhutan. So, Dechen, what do you do generally to communicate your sexual identity to other people? What do you ask people to do to recognize your sexual orientation? And particularly in this month, what kind of Pema mentioned the virtual campaign you will do. So what are the activities involved? What can other people do to get involved in it?
Let's thank you so much, Dr. Pema. We expect a lot from the population because I think certain percentage of the population in the country have very less knowledge about the LGBTI, or they have very less knowledge about. We also do exist. Now, okay, I came out in social media, I mean like the media platforms and all, but people knew that like, okay, the Dechen Seldon is there, but they think like I'm the only person who do exist. But most of our population, a certain percentage of the population have very less of knowledge that we LGBT community, I think, do exist in our country. So what we normally do is, what we are doing in this Pride Month is like, we used to advocate through social media on Facebook about human story. What are the challenges, what are the discrimination and stigma they have faces in their journey. So I think not only Pride Month, I think like we expect a lot through yes, lots of support and understanding for LGBTI community.
So, Rinzin, Dechen says there's a lot of expectation from the LGBT or the rainbow community. We are calling the community the rainbow community to make it easier. The acronym is otherwise a mouthful. What kind of challenges do you face to express your identity? when I think you now declare yourself to be an open gay.
Yes.
So what kind of challenges do you face living in Bhutan as an open gay person?
As being who you are, like expressing who you are itself is like being different from others. So it's mostly like when you are in crowd, you are like outed just because you're like black sheep of the herd. So you are outed.
I don't know if that's the right metaphor to use, but you are a different person,
yes,
right? You're
different.
maybe not really black out of all the whites, but you're just different. Okay, let's
Yes,
put it that way.
So we are outed, and those kind of things like really affects your social interaction towards others. You become socially awkward, and leading to that you don't know what to do. You start to lose your sanity. Your sanity goes down, and it becomes hard. And if if you don't have like quite good support from friends and your family members, it can lead to depression and eventually even like suicidal thoughts. So I would say that to avoid those kind of things, I think people should like really support, even though like if you can't say a positive word towards like those us, I think you should avoid saying negative things.
That's sad to hear that you have to even go through suicidal thoughts. If you, for instance, look at the Buddha, one of the fundamental things that the Buddha taught is that the world is full of diverse people, right? We have different temperaments, we have different interests, we have different bodily needs, we are all made of so many different things, so we end up being different. And why should we not be able to tolerate and accept the diversity, the differences? Yes. So I think the society really needs, as a Buddhist society at least, we need to appreciate diversity and accept the differences. Dechen, you have been more involved in this kind of campaign for a longer period. And 2 years ago, our parliament has decriminalized homosexuality. We have now got a law that has, or we have now dropped the law that was criminalizing homosexuality. What has that actually helped you in real terms in living your life? Has this sort of high legal legislative change sort of trickled down to real life to make your life easy or easier?
Yes, very much easier, especially like you've been as a front lines worker, and there is certain constitution, certain act that section 213 and 14 is unnatural sex, and it is very difficult to advocate to our own population, and as well as rest of the general population as well. So I think, especially when it comes to a transgender, I think it's really helped us, and of course even gay or lesbian or bisexual. Because let me talk more about my trans community. Because I think because of that law, I think most of the transgender community is not well educated. Seem like them. I'm also one of the community that couldn't continue my studies, but I'm not saying that our government is not supporting us. I mean, like the Minister of Education and I think the relative stakeholders, however, they have given me the opportunity to continue my studies. But yes, Mashuchira, I think let me speak in Zonka. Any team the mission, laha matang sala, laha terbari matang, kachumaso tingachi donga tinbe la bimi chibe beudada. Atsi do tse gupti thing bala. De chupana tangachi kati beruchi thi shosubachin. If you lag somewhere behind, the any team the you mikikase. After the constitution of the section, ne youth se tsage namisami di bala. So even ngachi school nalfo when we go for the awareness camping or advocacy programs la, the tsage mashuchira ni di bala ya. Any team the Jemichi Lalin Tapdigi Beta, Bedamichi Chimlegi Viladi, Imes, Midi Labda Bachin, Da Atilahatan Imes. I'm trying to speak in Zonka is like Mashuchira, Marazum Tranch and Mashuchira, I think I think pecha namsami bomb tamasubela. So pecha bomb kachbita masubon sawachin. I think because of their dress code, the certain age na she na da comfortable feel ma beshna tamasme la shachurila. Da pecha mato chamchi mem pecha tasame do de beta laluchi closet na mula. Da kage mashipe khora chamchi ki shippe dimidu and people that when it comes to the team get hega doachinte la kachira beruti tab ditotobe yasi seshuni.
So we'll come to
Yes.
the issue of sort of dress codes and so forth, the sort of basic practical issues that you may have faced. But you certainly don't have to any longer live in the fear of law now. No?
Yes, yes.
That would have been the case
Yes.
2 years ago.
Yes.
Pema, what can be done more in terms of laws and legislations to be more inclusive, to be make it more fair for
Yes.
the whole range of rainbow? I think
Spectrum.
yes, the whole spectrum. Homosexuality may not necessarily cover all of them.
Yes,
And
yes.
you yourself, I don't quite remember how you identify yourself. It's a very
Yes.
fluid, difficult one. So, what can be done further in terms of laws and policies to be more inclusive?
And first of all, I mean, Dechen already mentioned about the recent decriminalization of the consensual same-sex activity and or homosexuality. But like Doctor mentioned, that it doesn't cover everything on the ground, the issues the community is facing. So what especially the more needs to be done on the ground, and especially the people, the general population, and of course the community thinks that the law is gone now. Now we can get married, and now we can be whoever we want to. We can have a equal life like the heterosexual, the cisgender counterpart
I'll come to the more sort of
Yes.
practical problems, but
Yes.
I'm wondering, even when you talk about legal, legislative challenges, for instance, in many countries around the world, homosexual marriage is legal, but that's not the case in Bhutan yet, right? Does that affect you in any way? Should that law also change?
Because like the we do have so many issues that needs policy intervention, intervention go and of course marriage equality comes under that. It's not homosexual marriage, but we call it marriage equality.
Okay.
And like you said, it does this having no marriage equality law in the country to affect me and my community personally, because I have been in relationship for past 7 years now. But in eye of the law, our union there's no name for our union in Yavala. Of course, socially it's accepted of us being together, me being together with my partner. But if look at the policy and legal wise, our union is name. So if the union is not recognized by the law, or there's no policy to recognize our union, I and my partner are very vulnerable in Bala. Actually, when we said when we talk about marriage, marriage provides security for both the partners, so that if something happens down the line, in terms of inheritance, the law is make sure that they get equal pay. Both of them doesn't move like law is trying to treat them equally. But in my case, I don't have that protection. Just simple thing as going to Australia on spousal visa, that's not possible for me, though we share that bond of being partners and like a spouse, but we don't have that. So we do have so many policy intervention that still needed to be carried out. The decriminalization is the first step in a doctor. So after that, there's so many things that needs to be done. The community work is not done here. We really need to look forward to. So we are slowly going to do that.
So while we celebrate decriminalization
Yes,
of homosexuality, there are also many legal
Yes,
challenges and issues that you face. Dechen, you were earlier talking about the practical issues. So dress code is one. I'm sure you have many other examples. A lot of the state institutions themselves struggle, perhaps wondering whether you should be in the girls' hostel or the boys' hostel if you end up in school. So what are these kind of challenges that you face? What are the issues that need to be brought to the table with authorities, with the state institutions, and help them change their approach to to cater to the rainbow community?
I think especially I think when it comes to lesbian and gay and a bisexual, I think especially they're much easier compared to the trans men or trans women because as a transgender woman I think you have to change up to toe, so I think to come out, first of all, to come out as a transgender woman is a big thing, biggest challenge, and the journey is not that easy as what we think. So, Mashuchira, I think, the transgender Mashuchira, I think, especially some of them were finished their high schools. So, when they go and seek jobs, that there is a rule in the especially a transgender woman and men. If the transgender women get a job and they have to wear go. Because I think
so
they brought
the sex at birth determines who they are.
Yes. So one thing is that, and second thing is like macharagi passport or a citizen identity card, especially when you travel outside or wherever, especially elections, you've been discriminated because like you were transformed, you were. I think wore a beautiful kira with a very beautiful makeup, and later when you show your national ID card, I think again the discriminations happen because like some of them they don't know how to react, because I think I wouldn't say that like I think it's bad, but I think in this kind of situation I think
a lot of people are surprised.
They don't know how to react also. So it's basically it really affects to my community, the trans community. And the chimdi I think chimde juchi besubda, I think even if we could can get our national citizen ID cards as a female, especially both the men or female women.
So basically, if you can change the ID card after you change your gender, that would be very fair.
So I think I and some few friends are transgender women got a female citizen identity card. So from that I think they don't want to take risks. And I think we also need a lot of advocacy. We also need to do lots of advocacy program to make them understand. And we just can't go and that like we have a right. We should have that female citizen ID card. We can't approach in that way also. So I think especially the trans community, not only in the school, it started from Chimnale, where you, I think more times you spend at your place. And second thing is more you spend time is in school. So any time you face lots of discriminations, you've been stigmatized, and you've been bullied by your friends in the school, and even the teachers. And I think like especially trans, they'll be very feminine. So the teachers always wanted your student to be perfect or okay or good, So I think like people have no idea about the LGBTI or lesbian or bisexual or transgender. So they always wanted that your student to be perfect. So they always try to maintain your behaviors that like this is not right. You should act like a boy. But somehow that also hurts because like I think like I know what kind of person I am, but I can't reveal my gender identity or. So I think Lishumbe ground level nata watching. I think there is lots of things to be, especially Chimnalebe Gutsugobe. After that, there is school na Gutsugobe because I think family wanted to accept your child or children as a gay or lesbian or bisexual. As soon as your family go out for work or anywhere, I think then, the people started talking about your child. They're like, oh my God, your child is totally different. What's wrong with her or him? I mean, like, you should, detach, you should maintain, you should be a bit, I think, strict enough to control your kids. So then, Chimnalebe go to Delhi school now. So I think most of our community, I think, it in suicide, I think like, I think even myself is an anxiety patient, and I was going through with depressions since almost 7 years running now. Even I think like most of our community is like depressed, because of the acceptance by the society and the family. So I think I'm like, what we focus is to tell your story, life story, and to make people understand, so that at least a certain percentage, or 0.1 to 2% also, if we can reduce our discriminations in the society. So I think it's a good impact for Machi as a community.
So certainly we need state laws that are friendly. We need policies and practices, procedures that are friendly for you, to treat you as equal citizens. Yeah. But then that sort of boils down to the societal culture, and you brought up the issue of stigma many times. And one thing, Dechen, what I would say is, it's not so much the society, say the school teachers seeking perfection. I think it's more of the society falling into what is normal in their terms.
Yes.
A lot of people have this herd mentality to see something as normal and okay when it's done by many other people. And if there is something different, people don't manage to accept that easily. But then, and this is not again something that affects only the rainbow community. Even children with learning difficulties, with autism, they have also been marginalized and discriminated against in many cases. So what we really need to address is how is this people's discrimination against something that's different and abnormal. So I want to come back to Rinzin. How would you help society understand your sexual orientation? What sort of ways would you suggest to the society to overcome this prejudice they have, to get rid of the cultural stigma?
The topic gender itself, I think it should be more discussed during childhood, from starting only, so that whenever you see for example for example me going around looking like makeup, male wearing makeup and all, they won't feel they won't feel like
comfortable.
They won't if they have knowledge from beginning itself, I think it would be more easier to accept the concept that there are people that who are different. So I think it's more of duty for parents also to educate their child from beginning itself, because I have seen some from my personal experience, I have seen small children who knows really well about the community. They even know more than me, to be honest. So I think it's quite surprising, and even they know that what pronoun to use, even what even to ask what pronoun should I use, those kind of questions they know how to ask. I think those kind of education should start from beginning itself.
But this is the other interesting thing. If you are very sensitive, even with regard to what pronouns are being used for you, then it makes it quite difficult for a lot of people. So I think while you expect the society to be sensitive to you, maybe you have to also be more tolerant, right? I mean, not mind so much even if somebody gets the pronouns wrong. I may get the pronouns wrong easily because there's so many different types. But Nick, you certainly brought up the issue of discussion, of talking about this. I think this is so important, and this is why we are having Bhutan Dialogues, to talk about issues that matter to all of us. This Bhutan Dialogue is a forum where we normally say we do mindful listening. We listen to others to hear their opinions and perspectives, and then carry out a very civil conversation with right speech. So no sort of barking or name calling or rude remarks, but a very critical, constructively critical conversation. UN and Lopen has been doing this, and we are really glad to have you also to have this platform being used to develop an inclusive society to help the rainbow community. Pema, in your opinion, what else can the UN do? Is the UN doing enough to help the rainbow community?
Before I answer doctor's question, I have to give this fact to me, that is still, I think, like most of our people that or entity that we work with doesn't know. Actually, initially, I think it was, of course, with Laksam, I think, Laksam Bhutan Network of Positive People, plus UNDP, I think. They were around maybe towards the end of 2014. They were the ones. I mean, UN agency act as and host agency for the grant, and it was the Laksam who did the community work. So US was especially UN was involved in the initial stage of the community movement. And obviously, I mean, we have been engaged in so many various other activities under different UN agencies such as UNFPA. UNFPA has worked with us for past 6 or 7 years on a regular basis. But but that necessarily doesn't take away the fact that there needs more to be done, because, and we feel that UN and the whole entity associated with UN can be one of our biggest partners in terms of doing our work. So we cannot expect UN to come to us saying that, okay, I know what's your problem, please let us help you. So for that alone, I think both the initiative from the community and the entity that represents the community and the UN as an entity needs to come together and start a conversation, a dialogue, so that they will identify the needs of the community and UN will identify their resources which can meet the need of the community. Without that, I mean, we cannot say just go and say that UN didn't help us or something like that, because from the community side also, I mean, there should be a willingness to approach, and from UN side also, there should be a willingness to help. It's two-way street in Bala. So if someone wants help and other people are not willing to help, it will not work. The bond or the relationship will never establish. So I think that we are willing to start a conversation around the needs of the community and the resources that maybe UN can provide to meet those needs of the conversation. And if that thing comes out, then we'll be more than happy that we'll come up with a proposal to you now.
The UN has a mandate, right? It's part of the SDGs to build an inclusive society. So I'm pretty sure they're more than willing.
Yes, we leave no one behind.
I think the community has to come with specific proposals or suggestions or ideas. So with that, now let's turn to the audience and see if people have questions for you.
Yes.
Do you want to add something?
Yes, I missed some points. I think when it comes to the third question that Dr. Kama had asked, I think I missed some point. Like I forgot to tell about that we face challenges in the health services as well, not in the schools. And I think for that, I think Pema already mentioned that UN is very strong, and we believe that you will always help not only a Pride Bhutan or Acquire Voice of Bhutan. I mean, like, I actually talk about a whole bill, not only for Pacific bill, only a transgender woman and a gay. So, if we can implement some activities, especially the like meetings like health sector, I think services, who gives the services to us. I think if we could train them and the teachers also about, we can talk about the LGBTI, what it exactly mean about LGBT, and also we do exist, and especially, I think we face lots of difficulties when we grow up. So I don't want to create that feelings happened for upcoming generation, whoever it is. So if we can also bring up some stakeholders together, so that it will be much easier for us to reach them in the balance. So it's a request.
Yeah, no, it's a very, very valid point. I think when the state institutions deliver public services, right now, partly because of our economic situation, because a lot of the infrastructures would need good funding, and also human resources would need good training, and we don't have perhaps resources to do that. But we should keep taking a step forward with regard to LGBT community, but with regard to disabled community.
Yes.
The public services must be as accessible and easily available as possible.
Yes, sir.
Right now, most government offices can't be reached by a wheelchair citizen, right?
Yes, sir.
So I think there will be many such nuances, such simple things that can be fixed very easily, but they won't necessarily know because they don't sit in your shoes.
Yes.
And I think it would be very useful to share these ideas in a very constructive manner. So, question?
The first two are, what kind of challenges or issues do transgender individuals face while going to avail sexual and reproductive health care services? And the other one is, we hear stories about bullying, exclusion, harassment, and other struggles of LGBT youth. But we are also seeing greater acceptance of differences. What are some of the particular challenges of LGBT youth?
Okay.
So I think especially for a trans community, I think I think again I have to bring that topic. I think when you go and get your perceptions from the reception, I think you wearing kira and wearing makeups and you have a loud voice that also, you know, somehow I think the discriminations happen starts from there. And second thing is like they don't feel comfortable, to reveal their status. And, I think especially a transgender woman, when they go and used to get a checkup, I mean like not ultrasound, what do we say, X-ray, and you have to get half naked, and you don't have a boobs. So I think that also one challenge. And second thing is, I think you're born different, and of course there is lots of. I think might be the curiosity is there, and they wanted to see that whether they got both genitals, yeah. So I think this kind of things happening. So they don't want to seek health services, and even the privacy. I think we don't get the privacy in ability. I think they don't want to reveal your status because of that. Some other may know their status and reveal to another person. So I think special health sector and you have anything
confidentiality.
You mentioned SRH, sexual reproductive health rights. So in terms of that, first of all, SRHR is not very well implemented in school itself. If it was well implemented in school, the topic of LGBT is already in SRHR. Second of all, it's very binary. You are just talking about two gender, male and female. So, and whatever the information, whatever the materials is out there is very gender specific. So when there comes the topic of inclusivity, where it's not inclusive enough, so most of their issues are being left out at the end of the day. So if there's no such thing as inclusive SRHR or really good SRHR to begin with, because in terms of SRHR implementation in school, we also work in that area, so it's non-existent. So if it's not there to begin with, how can we expect that? Please be inclusive. And we can say that please include our issues as well. So of course the community, the young LGBT youth in schools, they do come across lots of sexual health barrier, because at the end of the day, most of them I think discover their sexuality or their gender identity by trial and error. So sometimes they have to experiment sexually to discover their sexual orientation or in terms of gender identity, because there's no resources available in any kind of setting at all, which can be accessible. But as of now, the times are changing because of that, because of having internet and the generation of youth being much open-minded than we, especially during our time. So the acceptance level is there, but understanding level there's difference between accepting. I accept you as Dechen Seldon, the transgender woman, but if I don't know anything about transgender women, what is transgender woman? What are their needs? There's no use of acceptance if you don't have understanding. So that's a big difference. SRH is very specific, gender specific. If you can go and research, it's very gender specific and it's not inclusive at all. So that's a problem that especially the young LGBT is facing.
You can, yes.
When it comes to acceptance, I think as earlier I told again, I said from school the teacher is not willing to accept and this and that because the acceptance level is, I think, a lack of knowledge because teachers or the parents or the half of the, I mean like half of the, I mean like our population itself is like not aware with what is LGBTI. So acceptance, I think when we advocate, when you tell your story that yes, I'm a transgender woman, I have that kind of feelings and everything, but acceptance level is very high comparing to other country. Like yes, acceptance is there because the country itself is GNH. You know, it's very emotional, Buddhist sympathy, but we are not asking for sympathy, we are asking for empathy. Sympathy is support, understanding level, but somehow discrimination, stigma, because we don't understand. Because as Rinzin already told that we are not educated in schools in starting. So I think because of that, if we are educated from starting in schools, then I think my parents is not educated, but I think somehow like my aunties are educated, so they can help through that. So it's kind of acceptance is level country. But we are not saying that acceptance means we have acceptance. The only thing is a step by step and I think it's we are just saying same man, but I think everyone is responsible.
Express your point very clearly. There is good acceptance,
Yes.
but then we need to move beyond that step by step, not very drastically, but
Yes.
I think as we gradually move forward, firstly, maybe the health service providers will be able to treat you in a respectful manner based on your requirements and needs. Then perhaps your hormones, of course, is now urging you, asking you to change to a female sex. And at the moment, we don't have the facilities to do that, right? And eventually, maybe in the long term, that is something that you may also think for your reproductive health.
Yes.
Okay. So let's take 2 more questions.
Within the LGBT community, what are some groups whose support needs have gone unrecognized? And what have been some of the most exciting changes you have seen with regard to support for the LGBT community in Bhutan? And what do you hope to see in the future?
That's a long question, but
could you repeat the question?
I'll ask you
Keep it short.
more specifically.
Yes.
Within your spectrum,
Yes, sir.
who are the people who have not been recognized, who have gone totally unseen, neglected?
In terms of the whole LGBT movement, as of now, we have very lack of let's call it biological women representation in forms of a bisexual woman or a lesbian woman, because as of now, it's not that lack of trying, going out and saying that we because personally we know many of them, but most of them are really comfortable, so they don't want to come out and advocate on behalf of the community. So we do have the lack of representation of especially the lesbian and the bisexual women in the movement.
As shown here, because we don't have lesbian here.
Yes, sir.
And another part of that question was, what are the big sort of strides or big success stories of the LGBT
Might be in
community?
the future.
Maybe
I mean, the decriminalization was definitely one,
Yes.
but there might be others as well.
And just imagine, maybe I'll just give you a scenario in 2014, towards the end of 2014, when forget about the general population, when people who were trying to work with the community, except for Dechen Seldon and few visible trans women, didn't have access to the community at all. So, and within the short duration of time, we are talking about 2021, roughly around 6 to 7 years, here the community is there, and entities such as UN is observing Pride Month, and the community themselves are observing Pride Month. And there's so many media houses that reach out to us saying that we want to feature you on for the Pride Month? What is your messages? We want to be part of your, I think, like observing Pride Month. So what more, I think, like what more achievement do we need? I mean, we're not talking about 3 decades ago there was no community. We're just talking about 6 or 7 years ago, where people say that. When I particularly heard about this incident where they discussed about LGBTQ, especially men having sex with men's issue, and they said, do that people exist in the world? So from that, here the community is in front of them sitting and talking about the issue. So what achieve? I think like we can consider it as an achievement, and we cannot count saying that we achieved this, we achieved this. And of course, like we are very achievement driven. I think like society where like our success is measured by our achievement, but at the end of the day, I think this is the shortest. This is the direct thing I can say that this is our achievement.
So we'll make it a big achievement for you that 3 of you are here in Bhutan Dialogues. Another 2 questions. Sorry.
I think when it comes to achievement, I think as Dr. mentioned that this is the achievement. The UN have recognized LGBT is an achievement. And I think 5 of the transgender got a female citizen ID card. It's an achievement. We have a huge community working in the office.
So
it's an achievement.
Tell us a little bit more about 5 trans getting female ID.
Yes.
They were male at birth.
Biological, yes.
So
yes,
that process worked at the immigration.
Yes,
well, then we have actually a procedure in place.
Yes,
it seems.
yes,
Wonderful, congratulations.
So I think when I came out first time, in 2008 in the media, it was not easy for me because I even don't know myself that what is transgender means. What is lesbian and gay. So when I started working for my own community, it is very difficult for me to reach my own community, and it's very difficult for them to come out from the closet. So I think that now we have a huge community who is alive. They attended 4 to 5 times suicide attempt. I think this is the biggest achievement.
Wonderful. Well, we'll probably have to even thank the state institutions like the Department of Immigration and Census for
very true. And the Minister of Health as well, and UN as well.
Yes. So, last 2 questions again.
What do you think people can do this Pride Month to raise awareness about important issues that impact the LGBT community? And what phrases have you heard, often uttered innocently, that are offensive to LGBT people? To educate the public, what would you say are questions that people should not ask someone who is from the LGBT community?
Okay, so that's a very good one. I think the first question probably is not as important because we have already addressed that in the first round of questions, what we are doing during the Pride Month. But the second part of the question, all 3 of you can share if you want.
Very simple.
Yeah.
Just come and talk to us. Don't get scared or don't try to be insensitive. If you are insensitive, we do understand, but some of them community means our allies mean so well for us. But they're saying that we're scared to approach you. How should we approach you? What are the gender pronouns you want to use? What is this? Don't be scared. Come and talk to us. We do understand. I mean, we will try to create awareness and not try to educate you.
Even like LGBT topic is like very vast. Even we can't even like totally understand, and we totally understand the general public approaching to us and asking questions about LGBT. We totally understand that they are confused.
We not get angry.
We are confused sometimes, because
but you must have still some examples of words or phrases or terms you don't want people or you don't like people to use.
Yes, especially local terms, especially I'm hearing I'm 28 years. Still, I'm hearing. I think before 2 hours, I heard something. Oh, Dechen Seldon. Chaka and Pomen Momen Chaka and Hijira. I think because I think most of our people think shows respect sometimes to me that they want to.
What's the term you would like for trans?
Pumladela.
So when you are okay.
Yes, I think like it's not my own perceptions or feelings or my emotions. I think every transgender woman wants to call as heard with respect.
Yeah.
More like,
and if it's the other way, then call he and him.
Yes, he can be
it's a
comfortable
name,
with he, she, and whatever. Because
if in terms of pronouns, I mean, it's good to ask, but at the end of the day, I mean, we do have our name. If it's doctor, we have to Dr. Phuntsho, it's Dechen Seldon. Just call us by your name. I mean, it's okay. Our names are so friendly, I mean, like gender friendly, that the first of our name is
gender neutral.
yes,
The
gender
first name.
neutral. I mean, Dechen can be Dechen Dorji or Dechen can be Dechen Zam. I mean,
Yes.
just call us by our name. I mean, don't overthink it. And so this is there, like when people said, those are our supporters, always like mindful around us, saying that please, what can we say? Just come and talk to us. And those who are being insensitive or something, try to come in. Try to at least understand us as a human being first. Then only we will have able to have a conversation, because we have already established in your mind saying that okay, and this she doesn't deserve to be called by her name. We'll just call her Chakka, Pole Mole, whatever. Then we cannot change that person's perspective. I mean, for that something great intervention needs to be done. But those of our allies who want to support the community but don't know how, just come and ask us. Simple. It's very simple.
When it comes to learning, please don't copy others' country contracts. It's totally different here, And people think like, especially our youth going for further studies in India, and they saw a hijra coming and clapping and asking money, and somehow our youth thinks that like, oh, Dechen Seldon is kind of hijra. She's a hijra that she can clap and ask money and blessed their child, So I think when it comes to studying, also please don't misconcept. We should always focus our country context. Like we should always see and but most of the people, they think, especially like I won't mention a name. Even if I mention this huge name, I won't mention this short time. Yeah. So I think especially when it comes to like promotions or the
consecration.
Yes. So I've been invited and they used to pay me, but I was just thinking that they're paying me for my talent that I used to perform, dance. But no, somehow they used to tell me they tell me that no, just that you came to my home and it was blessed that
it is with good luck.
Yeah, good luck and all. We are not good luck and bad luck.
So,
please, we are okay with.
But that's also another problem.
Yes.
Because the term chaka, the term polymer, whatever,
and even the special trait.
No, they are not sort of derogatory or bad unless we think they are.
Yeah.
They just sounds.
Yeah.
So it's really your community who firstly have to understand that these don't really mean much.
Yes.
People may have their own interpretation,
Yes.
but I think you should give less importance or less significance to such things. Don't be too sensitive.
And they feel, so somehow.
And they say, at least, I think when you are invited to a home to be blessed, why don't you see that positively? Only lamas and important men get invited.
No. So, it's really good that I feel so happy that, when they invite me for lunch or dinner, but especially when they say that, like, when you came to my place, oh, this happened, it's a miracle that. So, yeah, that acceptance, then I have to be, whenever I visit some other places, like, my boyfriend place also, then I'll get fear that like, oh my God, if something happened wrong there, then they'll blame me definitely, because like you came and shit happens there. So I don't want to be treated special, I don't want it to be treated badly, but only thing is, just understand us, accept us as what we are.
Sometimes bad things happen even after a very important nama has just come. So you don't overthink too much. I think you're sometimes superimposing too much.
Doctor, it's like it's two-way street. When people look at you as a superstitious being, and we as in Bhutanese, we never have that culture in terms of religion also. But there's another side to it where people also associate with bad luck. So it's both-way street. So what Dechen is trying to say is like, we are just human beings. I mean, if he bless you, you will not become millionaire tomorrow. Or if he curse you, you will not become poor tomorrow. I mean, it's just a human being. So we want to be treated as like a human being without any divination power or like.
So it happens like, sometimes when they share this kind of, to their family or friends, so it becomes somehow that, they discriminate. And the people, especially those who think that like we are attention seeker, they want it to be a unique. So I think as a human being, this is, I think, I would say proudly that it's a God gifted, as a human being. So we should be glad enough and support each other and not to discriminate. Insist, if you could talk about something positive, it's well and good. If not, I think we don't have any rights to discriminate anyone, not only the community, LGBT community, I think.
So when you talk about discrimination, if you look at our traditional village communities, there were a lot of people like you who
Yes.
girls would go throughout the whole life, and then boys would dress up in kira the whole life, and they were accepted. They lived normal lives.
Yes.
But now, when you have this rainbow community, it almost sounds like we are fighting against a tradition that was so discriminatory. Is this new discrimination that we have adopted, or is there really such discrimination in our culture itself?
Being
Please.
trans was like kind of like known topic from before only, like transiting to men to women or women to men was, I think it was like a common topic, like people knew already about that, but I think people like they never knew about that other spectrum like lesbian, gay,
Yes.
bisexual and all. So because of that, introducing those three spectrum to them, I think they get confused. Like I think mostly lack of knowledge.
Yeah, I'll continue with that question. You brought up lesbians earlier who are not known as here, and they are the ones who are unseen. And there are many gay, I suppose, who are also in the closet. What would be your advice for those fellow rainbow community members to come out of the closet?
I would say have patience. Have patience and surround yourself with positive people, have a good environment, and avoid negative people, like toxic people who like really who disagrees on whatever things you do, like those kind of things. That will make lot more easier for you to in future to come out. It and I would say like the first priority would be your mental health being. I think you should focus on that, and to do that, so you should have a very healthy hobby. You should take up do things that you love, spend times with friends and all.
So, Pema and Dechen, what are the 2 or 3 things that you would want the community members as well as the society to make things easier for?
First of all, I mean, people, especially the general population, needs to understand that the LGBT community exists. It's not for their exists. It's not because they're seeking attention, not for their entertainment, nor like they are inviting stigma and discrimination toward themselves. They are just living their life. And just imagine them, the strength and courage takes for a person to come out and be his or her true authentic self. Be it sexual orientation, gender identity, or expression. And when that person takes that courage to come out and say that this is I am, then at least try to have courtesy to say that we see you. Acceptance and understanding this comes later, but at least we know that, at least respect and like applaud that courage to begin with, because most of the community member, like Rinzin says, is in the closet but necessarily doesn't mean that please come out, please join our cause because visibility is very important I'll tell you. But with visibility that's safety in terms of creating visibility, we cannot risk someone's safety. So for that alone, we want to clarify because this word visibility is thrown out quite a lot. We use it as a hashtag, but we don't want visibility in terms of someone's safety. Where the person has been exposed to stigma and discrimination and all that. Not all people can take stigma and discrimination handle being so well. And second of all, just be kind. I mean, just be kind to each other. It's a general message. Just be kind to each other. Everyone is going through something in their life. I mean, and stop making assumption and judgment about other people. At the end of the day, if someone shares a different perspective than you, if someone shares a different beliefs than you, if someone shares a different sexual orientation, gender identity than you, that necessarily doesn't mean that they don't deserve your kindness. Kindness is a basic human thing that needs to be given to each other. Just be kind and respect to each other.
Dechen?
To everyone, be yourself, love yourself. The biggest thing is to love yourself. So please don't try to attempt suicide, whatever the situation is. I think we are strong enough to fight. It's not only for like the LGBTI, even people with HIV also, and as well as the disabilities. And I think all the night workers, entertainment sectors who's working there, I think most of them being discriminated as, same like us. So I think we should moreover respect someone's feelings, emotions, and try to understand and, do what you like to do, and especially last message to my own community who is LGBTI. I think certainly we can't change everything, that don't work also, so it will definitely take time, but doesn't mean that we are lagged behind. We'll still work for your comfort, and of course, please, by the time, please be prepared yourself if you want to come out. And even to the all parents, that please don't judge your child. Let them do whatever they want. If you have an interest working, as a beautician or as a dancer, so I think it's something that if you insist your child to do something different, but you will never achieve. So if you want to have a good impact, so I think henceforth, I think Lapchika Tiptikebe, so La Bego Pleasure do, so please Karadu Japtur Tipperna Obe Sela. Not only the front Labi Michamchi, I think Matakara system the Chidra Labi Obe Timmy, Mola Lumbadu Timmy, the Garno Michi the Jomisube, so Anibe Boda, He Tame Beula. They built the teacher, Tangano, Jomato, Avimi, I'll discriminate Biome, Chado Churia or Chume, Semanoa, I think Atiti, no some Jindibe, Tashna, the Ranka, no Michita, Semi, you can read the books. If you want to watch a movie, you can watch a movies that what you like, actions or what emotion movies.
One thing, I think for the society, for the parents, for colleagues to accept this diversity, the differences is, I believe, a lot of them don't necessarily understand what the rainbow community is about. Because most of people think that your sexual orientation is in your head, whereas it's not in your head, it's in your body. Just as a straight male like myself desires female and a female desires male, you have the hormones that desire the orientation you're seeking. So it's a physical thing that you can't help, but it's a physical process. And I think the society has to really understand that and not see you as these odd people who are sort of rebellious and wanting to do something different, but rather somebody who is living what their internal bodily makeup is wanting you to be. Now, final round of questions. You are people who go through a lot of discrimination and a lot of challenges. Dechen, what do you do to sort of keep yourself fit and healthy and get rid of thoughts like the suicidal what do you do?
I do dancing and most of the time I end up watching TV serials and there's news, and because I'm not very active in social medias and on.
For the past 6 or 7 years I've been working, and during that stage I think my mental health really deteriorated, to be really honest with you. I mean, I was on verge of having a mental breakdown. So during that mental breakdown time, I think I learned the most valuable lesson that Pema Dorji, just know that you cannot please each and every people in the world. I mean, when you do your stuff, you are bound to offend someone, you're bound to please someone, and that's not your problem. And what I've learned that time is like to draw a boundary line, and I was saying that this is the thing that I'll not stepping out of that boundary. So that has been keeping me sane. And on top of that, I usually take this time off. It can be weeks, days. In last time case, it was 9 months to just rejuvenate. Because at the end of the day...
But what did you do to rejuvenate?
Just cut all the communication off.
And then
just focus on myself. And
meditate?
For me, I mean, I enjoy watching movies.
Watching movies, okay.
But I'm a very picky. I'm quite picky in terms of movie, but I enjoy the whole experience of watching movie. And every once in a while, I revisit the book that The Circle of Karma by Phuntsho. And that book keeps me going because that book has taught me a very valuable lesson in a life, where it says that your life is not like movie where like we expect at one point happiness then whole of the it's not like movie like with a happy ending that after you cross this point your life will be happy. It's ups and downs. You'll have a peak of happiness and down if you fall. You learn your lesson, get yourself up, and just go on. So I usually do that. I usually cut off people and just focus on myself.
Me, I like keeping myself busy. For me, I have like fulfilled my childhood dream for becoming a beautician. Now I own my own beauty salon, and either I'm working or I do makeup when I'm like I like recreating makeup looks when I'm free, and I like watching YouTube makeup YouTube tutorials, and most important things I think I focus more on positive positive things that happens around me. Example, those news, so I cut down like negative news. Example, COVID has been affecting all of us. I try to ignore those things and try to like focus on those positive things.
Please don't use substance abuse to
Subside.
I mean,
This
what
is
we say.
a message for the fellow.
Yes, especially my trans community. We end up with bottle of whiskey, sometimes. So I think to cope up your depressions and anxiety. So chanda if you can dance, if you could do exercise, anichi zisupachin la de chandi nam sami solution memengare. Cha ati thumbe imdenu beta subenti tada pulera membe se la jomitore so diwadi diet be rangi skin su maintain be besubachin leshbe me the hormones intimate sagobe mindu the ngarazumera chama thumbe watching the hormones sagopchi mindu darna bazozo ni mendin lasharadu dani bezube besubachin nam sam leshbe me la.
Let's thank you. We'll now end the session. So thank you all three for coming to Bhutan Dialogues and sharing your stories and discussing the issues that you face. I normally end this session with a Bhutanese or Buddhist saying, and these days I've been working on a Buddhist topic called Buddha nature.
Yes.
And in one of the most famous tantric texts called Hevajra, there is this verse which I would like to use to conclude today's session. Semchen namne sangeni yuenchang lobur timetin dima desel sangeni. All beings are Buddhas, but this is concealed by temporary flaws.
Yes.
When these flaws are purified, their Buddhahood is revealed. So
Yes.
basically we are all Buddhas, straight, gay, trans, whatever.
Yes.
So with that, thank you again for coming. Thank you, audience, for taking part.
Yes, thank you so much.
Yes.